Thanks to Amazon Prime, we have another independent streaming movie to talk about today. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to a brand new movie review. Today I'm going to be discussing Selah and the Spades, which is about 5 factions who run an underground life at Haldwell School, a prestigious East Coast boarding school. At the head of the most powerful faction is the Spades sits Selah Summers, walking the fine line between feared and loved. I really like these kind of high school stories where they kind of dive into these prep boarding schools and kind of pick the different factions. There's always something fun to kind of be entertained throughout that whole entirety, and we've seen this in, say, films like Mean Girls, or even the new recent show within Netflix, The Outer Banks, and now we have Selah and the Spades, which again plays around with this nice, unique premise, and it's always fun to see how they're able to play around with it in this world. If you guys are new here, though, make sure again to hit that like and subscribe button, where I do tons of movie content like this on a daily basis, as well as comment down below and let me know your guys' thoughts. Are you guys excited for this one? Are you not? Are you guys staying inside and washing your hands? I hope so. When it comes to Slaying the Spade, there's something about an independent directorial debut from Tayarisha Poe that actually gets me quite excited for what she's going to do next. And this film, actually what I equivalent it to is kind of like Rian Johnson's Brick, which I really like Brick. It's a very small independent film that's a little bit rough around the edges, but the vibe in all of its entirety and in general the performances prove that there is some genuine greatness in there, and I can't wait to see what happens. And while I do think Brick is a better movie than this, Slaying the Spades is still a very great directorial debut, and I think a lot of that goes because of the tone, the performance given, and actually the vibe of the movie, which let's just stick with that vibe for a second. When a movie starts and a vibe is given out within the presence and within the opening seconds of the movie, that's when I can actually really get dived into this. And that's actually the one thing that I was actually quite impressed with within Selah and the Spades, was that vibe, the way that it actually made me feel like I was intertwined with these kids, and actually seeing how they were kind of like developing throughout it, and really the fine line that Selah walks between feared and loved. You felt that. You didn't know if you could trust her. You didn't know if you could love her. You didn't know if you were gonna kind of fear her. It was very interesting the way that they were able to walk that fine line and really make you again feel like you were there. And if a movie is able to accomplish that, that is a very big thing, because the one thing I think is the hardest thing to actually crack inside a movie is the vibe, is the tone, and everything inside of its narrative, and they really did a great job within that. Talk about the performances. Lovie Simone, who plays Selah in here, is wonderful. I mean, this girl is fantastic. And what a breakthrough performance it is in here, and I actually hope she gets a little bit more warranted after this film kind of debuts to a bigger public audience, because she really gives it her all. And jumping in, Jerome, who plays Maxxie as well, is also fantastic. Also one of the big nice parts about this whole entire movie. I think if people are coming into here to think that, oh, this is going to be a very realistic in terms of what high school is, they're not going to get that. And I think that's something that I was quite expecting, especially within the opening act of this movie. And again, this movie is a little bit outlandish. It's a little bit above what an actual high school is going through, especially when it decides to go and talk about each of the cliques and the factions that are going about it. But I think it's over the top in its nature, due to kind of making you feel like, yeah, I can kind of see how this is playing off, but also playing off in a very smart narrative that is as well telling a more story than just meets the eye. It's not just that surface level material. It's actually got some substance underneath once you start digging in and really thinking about it. It is a wild movie in that fact, and I think that's why I really much appreciate what Tayarisha Poe was able to do with inside this movie. I haven't even talked about the cinematography. There's something about these independent movies that always have like a brilliant cinematography to it, and I'm just like looking at it like, damn, God, this is so beautiful. I wish I could like do that. When it comes to Slaying the Spades, though, I do have a couple cons to it, and one of those things comes out to be the script. While the script is not bad by any means, for an hour and 37-minute movie, it did kind of drag at times, and some of the scenes I feel in here were not needed or warranted, and I feel like that kind of dropped some of the pacing, and also some of the dialogue here and there with certain actors were not the best. It doesn't mean it's like horrible, but I just thought the material being told at times, I thought it could have been a little bit more elevated. Maybe that's more on the performances than the script, but I just felt like for the over-the-top nature and the way that it's kind of trying to dive into these factions and kind of stuff that goes on in high school, it could have done a little bit better in that whole entirety, but still. Like I said, this is how I equivalent to like the first independent feature directed by Rian Johnson. A really great directorial debut. That's a film that's a little bit rougher on the edges, very low budget, but you can definitely tell there's some greatness in there, and it is a great movie. I think Slaying the Spade is a very good movie with great elements to it, and a vibe that really just, man, just gets you in there. Before I give you guys my final thoughts on Slay and the Spades, make sure to comment down below. Let me know your guys' thoughts. Are you guys excited for this movie? Are you not? Are you going to be checking it out on Amazon Prime this Friday? Let me know down below in the comment section. If you already watched it, I want to know your guys' thoughts as well. If you guys are interested in seeing movies early when movie theaters finally open back up, head on over to Sandwich on Films as well down below. And of course, just a big thank you to you and a big thank you to my Patreon supporters, because without you, I wouldn't be able to do this. Playing the Spades is definitely an entertaining watch. It's a one that hooks you in by the first couple of seconds due to the vibe and the tone of everything. Tayarisha Poe really directs this film out of the park. And while I didn't love the script and there were some issues that I had with it, especially when it came to the pacing, and I felt like there were certain scenes that weren't needed in there and that maybe you could kind of jive it into maybe the editing and all sorts of stuff like that, I don't. I feel like it was a script issue, and that's really all it comes down to be. It is an over-the-top wild kind of thing that takes you through this prep school in a very different manner, but it's one that I very much appreciated and one that I will be sticking in my mind for a while. I love the performances in here. I really appreciated the directing, though. I think that is the thing, and I cannot wait to see what Poe does next. So with all that said, I'm going to give Slay and the Spades a B. Let me know your guys' thoughts. Are you guys excited for this one? Are you not? Let's discuss it down below, guys. Thank you guys again so much for watching this, and of course, until next time, stay classy.